talk about rural development and then infrastructural advancement. At other times, we look at security, and when we are not, then we are sure talking about economic development. Today won't be any different. We'll be looking at Arise Agenda as a whole in Arise Agenda and the whole perspectives of Arise Agenda. Inside the Arise Agenda is a program sponsored by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Mr. Ekerete Udo. My name is Samuel Ayara, and for the rest of the hour, I'll be your anchor. I'll be having us look at how well Governor Umoino has lived to fulfill all that he promised us while he was in the trenches. Of course, that's not mine to do. That won't be my job. My job is pretty simple, and that's having to convey your thoughts and mind, all of what keeps you curious and your concerns, to people who are already armed to the teeth as to how much the governor has achieved. And perhaps you also know, if you have any need to step away from your television set now, you can take us with you if you followed and liked our page on Facebook at Inside the Arise Agenda, where this is streamed live. It is also streamed live on AKBC Radio and TV. That's on YouTube. All of this is our own way of ensuring you do not miss any aspect of this conversation, because the idea is, as we gravitate into the golden era, we do not hope to leave anyone behind. Okay, so on the guest column to take on the discourse segment of Inside the Arise Agenda today, I have with me a special assistant to the governor on media, Ene John. Until recently, he would forgive you if you just call him Ene John, but until recently, he would love to be known and addressed as Ene John PhD. Welcome to Inside the Arise Agenda.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Feels so good having to play host to you on this show. I'm freshly baked from the University of Port Harcourt.
Good to be here.
And again, my second guest, I won't divulge the good news here, but there is good news. Yeah, he is a public affairs analyst, one that has been around long enough, and he has been on the vanguard projecting and promoting the brand called Pastor Umoino. And then just this afternoon, the good news swept in, but that would be left in the chillers till when it comes to when you should know. Okay, so my next guest on the show is Patrick Edeke. You're welcome to Inside the Arise Agenda.
Thank you, Samuel. It's nice to be here. It's good to sit in the presence of greatness. Dr. and you, Samuel, doing such a great job. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's not every day you find the opportunity of holding this kind of conversations with a scholar. So when you find one opportunity, you grab it with both hands, regardless of how hot
it's one opportunity or privilege. I won't take with I won't handle with kid gloves. Yes, you know, those days when they talk about somebody who is a doctor of philosophy in any field, it must have been somebody looking old, you know. But these days, it's nice to see that young people have, taken a grab of the academic sector, and they are doing this work.
And I used to think I was going to be one before I turned 40, but now that dream is long gone. One of the ways. Yeah, because
what happened is this:
40 is here already.
So the dream is not gone. You procrastinated the dream. Now what you're going to do is to procrastinate your procrastination.
Yeah.
So you start.
Okay, so before we procrastinate all of that and procrastinate inside the Arise Agenda, where we're supposed to discuss the mileage and achievements of the governor, let's get back to that conversation. Dr. Ene John, let's have you reflect on the governor's Arise Agenda. How well, how far so far?
His Excellency Governor Umoino has done excellently well, because if you look at the previous administration and where we are today, like I always tell people, that government is a continuum, and in the last 8 to 9 months, Governor Umoino has implemented the Arise Agenda steadily. Now look at the agricultural sector of the Arise Agenda. He's opening up roads in rural areas to encourage farmers from those areas so that they can have access road to bring in their farm produce to come and sell and also make profit. And you also look at the fact that under the agricultural aspect of the Arise Agenda, His Excellency there's currently a Shanghai farm ongoing, the construction of that Shanghai farm at Institubium. And for every local government areas in Akwa Ibom State, these are farm settlements that we are going to have as it concerns the Arise agenda of His Excellency. So that takes care of the agricultural sector of the Arise agenda, and more of it to come. And you look at rural development, opening up roads, like we are having the road that was flagged off at the Uruta road that links Nsedibom. We also, you go to Ikotekpene, you go to Abak. Recently, the governor had last week flagged off a road project that links Etimekpo local government area. This is just his way of opening up the rural sector so that we will not be having much of this urban rural to urban migration, so that people can settle where they are, know that they can do businesses from their location. And once you provide a farmer with an access road, once you provide the rural dwellers with access road with power, they can actually do business from wherever they are, and they make profit without even necessarily coming to the town. If they want to come to the urban area, it should be for something very specific. So that is what His Excellency is doing. And we move up to security. We are having today the Bomb Watch. Never have we ever recorded such a feat in the state. We are having the Commissioner for Internal Security, a newly created ministry that His Excellency came up with. And this was as part of the perspective that we gathered from the Akwa Ibom, the dialogue that was held at Ibom Icon Hotel. Yeah. That's where the idea came up for us to have a Ministry of Internal Security, where we are having a retired general manning that ministry and also helping the governor and helping the state in terms of security. And for the Ibom Watch, His Excellency the governor has said we had started this Ibom Watch from your local government, and this is something that will cut across all local government areas, where we will have the rural dwellers, unit by unit, people who will make up this Ibom Watch, where we will have the core persons from each of these villages manning security and giving security feedback to the commissioner or directly to the governor, yes, to different authorities. Now you look at education. Thankfully today, I have gotten to a PhD level. That is also part of the dreams of His Excellency the Governor, that young persons should rise to the apex of the educational sector. The investment in education, look at what is happening at Christ the King Model School. Currently, you go to Barracks Road now, you see that the school is completely remodeled. His Excellency also had approved that remodeling should take place in Eket too. 2 weeks ago, when he attended a burial at Eket, he has mandated that all the particular primary school there in Eket be remodeled. And His Excellency said, for each and every primary school that we are having, he's trying to see how we can have this remodeling template cut across the state. In any which way, he's going to try to make sure that the educational sector is up and doing. Now, last week he also had a meeting with the Akwa Ibom University, the ASU, yeah, the branch in ASU, yeah, trying to meet up. He has approved their allowances and the 13% that they had agitated for. His Excellency the Governor also approved palliative for them, and also they talked about leave grant. A whole lot of things has been put in the board. So these are part of the drive that His Excellency the Governor is undertaking as it relates to the Arise agenda.
Okay, so I'll be swinging straight to a part of Akwa Ibom State that for as long as I can remember has been advocating and clamoring to be integrated in the mainstream of infrastructural development, political inclusion, and the likes. It's prior to now, it was quite a lot easier to find someone from Oron Federal Constituency complain about marginalization. And I'll be speaking with Patrick Edeke, who is an indigene of Oron Federal Constituency. What changed that Oron Federal Constituency indigents no longer complain marginalization under Governor Umoino?
If you look at the Arise agenda in totality, you'll discover that this is a model that is beyond just political rhetorics. You know, when politicians are seeking for office, they get professionals, consultants to write manifesto for them. But this is not one of those regular manifestos. And it boils down to the fact that we have somebody who has a training in the ecclesiastical area. He's a clergy, so he is aware what is captured, if my memories will serve me right, Habakkuk chapter 2, where it says, write down the vision that whoever, now this is where the catchphrase is for me, the subtext in there is that whoever, not the person that wrote it down, not the author, so that whoever sees it runs with it. And that is why it is almost like utopic that what is happening right now in Akwa Ibom State is an awe-inspiring issues that people are like, in just less than a year, the governor so far had achieved all this. Like what the doctor was saying, the doctor, that is the thing is so enormous in the doctor's mind. I can see how he's struggling to make sure that the people back home get the grasp of it, because no, the truth is that faith coming by hearing, and by hearing continuously. But again, what is significant about faith is that faith without works is dead. So it is not just talk. You see the actions going on. So it's a carefully planned issue. He was a president, a man that was ready for governance. He was ready for governance. And if we go back, if rhetorics will serve us right, he has always been referred to as a governor of royalty. So the idea of governance has always hovered around him. So when he got to power, it wasn't like surprise, or it wasn't a new thing for him as per se, but it was just like, hey, I have a plan. Why? Because he
plug and play.
Yes, it was a plug and play. Why? Because he had come back home, stayed amongst us, built a business from scratch, understudied the commoners, lived among them, slept in his own completed building, so he understands all the facets. So when he talks to you like somebody who knows it, and that's why it's easier for him to drive on the street and just stop by and buy his banana. It has nothing to do with anything showman business. No, that is who he is. He's a common person. And somebody was telling me the other day, I think my friend Donald, he said the governor is no longer in the corridors of power. So if you are going to look for him in the corridors, you will miss him. He's on the street. So go to the street. That is why you find out that most of the agitations that used to come from Oron Federal Constituency, as you've said, has been doused. Most of the agitation has been doused. Why? Because you now have a governor who is almost implementing the original plan. I want to say the original plan. I mean, if you look at the plans that His Excellency Victor Attah had for Akwa Ibom State, development infrastructure wise was widely spread all across the state. It was to make Akwa Ibom State a one city state like Lagos, where you don't have to move anywhere. You stay where you are and make the best out of it. So it is at this point, although we are not where we ought to be, or where we want to be, or where we need to be, but we are not where we used to be. Particularly, he has not shied away from the major issues that the people of that federal constituency, which is wrong constituency, infrastructure-wise, especially when it has to do with roads. And I'm very particular that he has flagged off a whole lot of roads across the 5 local government that makes up the federal constituency, because a lot of people feel when you say Oron, they like Oron Urban. You don't talk about Umbo, you don't talk about Urefon Rugo, you don't talk about Okobo local government, you don't talk about Uroko local government. You just like, hey, Oron Aganabio. No, it's no longer like that. He has gone to other local government of significance, because I have over time, each time I have the privilege of being here or on any sister radio station or whatever, I've always made sure that issues that has to do with development, infrastructure and otherwise must be on the basis of local government area. And that is exactly God answering my prayer and bringing His Excellency Pastor Omoino to come and answer that prayer the way it is. So it's not like, hey, our nation, I've given it. No, it's local government by local government, and they are there. He did them in Urban, he has done in Okobo, he has done in Umbo. Yes, and it's within our right at this particular point to now assume or adopt the Oliver Twist mantra. We want more, and rightfully so. And I'm very comfortable and confident that His Excellency will not relent in making sure those things go abroad. So when you look at the totality of the Arise agenda itself, it captures the very essence of governance and the people. One particular thing of note is the fact that when he came in, he asked the local government chairmen to go back to where they are governing to stay. People did not understand the idea behind it. When you say that you want to stem the urban-rural migration or rural-urban migration, it is simply not just mere rhetorics. You have to do things on ground and show in street language, show working of how you can stop this. One of the things is, okay, infrastructure. Why do I need to stay in Uyo if I have good routes to Mbo,
Yeah.
where I come from. So, and I know one funny thing about the beauty of Akwa Ibom State is that virtually every other local government from Uyo is almost equidistant.
Yeah.
So I don't need to stay in Uyo if I have good access to Mbo. I'm staying in Uyo and pay humongous amount of money as house rent when I can probably live in my father's hut in the they see, and then when I want to come to Uyo, I have good access to I just come in. So I don't need to move. Now look at what he has done with agriculture. A lot of things have been done in agriculture, but what the one that really catches my attention and tickles my fancy right now is the bill, the bulk purchase agency bill.
Okay.
Now this is a one-stop bulk. It is more like an aloe vera of agriculture. Why do I call it aloe vera of agriculture? You know, like the aloe vera plant.
Yeah.
Whatever you want it to do for you, that's what it does for you.
Yeah.
It's multifaceted in its ability. That is just the same thing that the bulk purchase agency bill is doing. Because look at it. First of all, it's going to partner, number one, with the local farmers and traders. So now you don't need to leave your village to come to you. Once the government provide you with good improved seedlings, you can manage your farm. Government has provided the market already. So you don't worry about market. All you need to do is that go back to work.
Okay.
You are connected to the then now. It makes sure that food is available, whether we like it or not, whether it is artificial or not. We have certain level of food insecurity in this nation.
Definitely.
And that is one of the reasons why the inflation is biting hard. So what does it do? It makes sure that food is available, availability, access, price control to a particular level, because he works hand in hand with the sellers. I have practically been on ground. I know sometimes these people hoard. Are you getting me? But with the government coming in, you can't hoard. And whether you like it or not, that agency is still going to provide employment. People have not talked about that. Because it's going to be a new agency. They're going to need people to work there. So there's going to be employment. So you see, when you connect the dots, you see the dots are connecting. Young people who have farmland, you don't need to leave your farmland, stay. You don't need to struggle for market. The government is going to come and buy them from you. You don't need to worry about the seedlings. They're going to give you improved seedlings. Because all around the world, sensitive and sensible government and rational government, if I might use the word, always subsidize agriculture. All around the world. So definitely we are going to enjoy subsidized agriculture. So Akwa Ibom State is no longer the secret that people used to think again. Because everyone now know the secret. Just whatever you want, go to Akwa Ibom. So we have a governor who understands these dynamics and understand how to turn it over. Yeah, 3 years, 2 years might not be enough, but you see, when you have a workable plan that you've conceived in your mind for a very long time, implementation is not there. And that was why he was confident enough and humble to allow Akwa Ibomites look at their rights agenda itself in the dialogue. If you discover at that dialogue, it was non-partisan, it was an Akwa Ibom project.
Definitely.
People from all walks of life who are Akwa Ibomites were invited over there, some online, some physically, and then he had the humility to allow this his plan suffer the kind of intense scrutiny that it requires. And just like you see, when you want to get gold or silver, let's use gold at this point because we are in the golden era, it must pass through fire. Through fire.
Okay, so the dialogue was
was the fire. And you knew what it means. When you give your plan to somebody who is a political opponent, and then the person comes and says, yes, we have okayed it, and is implementing it. And that's why I find out that people are coming back to the fold.
We'll get to that, Edeke. Let's quickly look at the humanity in the man, Pastor Romano. You see, it's a lot easier to find leaders relate seamlessly with people at a certain leadership cadre. It's possible to find leaders relate with politicians at a certain level, to find people relate with business people, just building the social stratifications and all of that. But here is a governor who has a face for every rung of the social strata. He meets with the market people and he tells you an aspect of him that settles so perfectly well with what happens in the markets. He meets with students and he tells you what he thinks about education and the part of him that settles so well with building and expanding on the frontiers of the educational sector. And then most recently we saw him at a time when states of the federation are looking to shoring up revenues. We understand health care as one area the government could completely rely on to scale up resources. Then we saw him declare a free medical outreach at that time. And just when we felt that was him doing too much, we've heard that plans have been concluded to host same outreach in Ikot-Ekpene and Eket Senatorial District. Let's talk about the humanity in Governor Umoino Enejuan.
Well, thank you very much, Ayara. Prior to this time, when we were in the trenches, like you call it, we were running with the governor for this office and trying to convince Akwa Ibom people that this man was going to mean well for Akwa Ibom people. Some persons had doubt about it. Everywhere you go, we were moving this gospel from one place to the other. But this Umoino's gospel was like somebody who is carrying the Bible and going for evangelism. You will have people that you will convert. You have people who will be very reluctant about being converted. So it's just for you to keep preaching. These were messages that we had preached, that this is a governor that will mean well and that will be there for every Akwa Ibom person. Now today, you see the governor drives on the street. He stops.
And then people said he was a very mean businessman. What's changed?
Those were false stereotypes that were pushed against the government, because we understood we were in electioneering campaigns, and you don't expect everything to be positive. So the negative aspect of it, when people look at you, sometimes they consider what negative bite can we use against this person. They had presented Governor Umoino, tried to scrutinize him. This was a man that was almost flawless, even if he has his flaw, but he was almost flawless. He tells you whatever thing you want to know about him, it's in the open. So there was nothing to hide about it. But people always have their ways. No matter how good you think you are, there are people who talk negative things about you. Now the question is, are these negative things correct? So now the governor stops by a market and interacts with the market women, try to find out what are their challenges. He goes to the street, he relates with people on the street.
Have the fear of God.
No, he is not an elitist governor. This is a governor that hasn't even changed his phone number. Meaning that as an Akwa Ibom person, you have access to the governor's phone number. You can only send him a text, and he will read your text message. He will read your WhatsApp message. We just stay on the line of the governor. So the human face that Governor Umoino has brought into the administration of this state is unequaled. So now, apart from the medical outreach that we even saw in Uyo Senatorial District, from the 11th through the 16th of March, we are having another medical outreach at the Ikot-Ekpene General Hospital. And when I went to Akwa Poli for a conference 2 days ago, I told the people there, take the messages to the rural dwellers. I believe a lot of persons from the rural communities are listening to AKBC TV. Come out between 11th and 16th of March and to Ikot-Ekpene General Hospital and participate in this free medical outreach. You are aware that the first time this outreach was organized at the Unity Park, the first day we recorded over 81 surgeries that were performed in that place. That was just for day one. And tabulating all of the numbers of surgeries, both hernias, fibro, the whole lot. Those were people's medical history, so we won't come to review those histories. So every Akwa Ibom person, if you know anybody who is having a health challenge, yes, come to Ikot-Ekpene General Hospital. This is what Governor Umoino is doing for Akwa Ibom. He thinks about how he is going to reach the common man on the street, and he tells you that you elected him to work. So this is an all-inclusive governance that the governor is running. He's not running governance based on political party sentiment. So whether you are in YPP, you are in APC, you are in PDP, nobody tells you to provide your membership card for a party for you to be able to have access to this free medical outreach.
By the way, the last edition of that free medical and surgical outreach held at Unity Park, I actually saw an old man spot a first cap of NNPP, and he got in. He was attended to, still in that first cap, and he proceeded to have his surgery done. And after that surgery, I could see how much attachment he had for his face cap, he kept it quite close to the bedside he was recovering from. And just then I could imagine someone is sporting an attire of a different political party and is so well attended to. Then I think there is really the part of this man's humanity people are not really emphasizing on.
This is just the part one of the Umoino that Akwa Ibom people elected. We are not just up to even a year. The government has not done up to 1 year in the administration, and you could see projects spread across. You could see the human face in the administration. Now, what do you think will happen in the next 4 years of this administration? It means that at least every household in Akwa Ibom state should have had an impact, or should have felt an impact of this present administration. That's one thing that I can assure Akwa Ibom people.
Okay, then Edeke, before the last set of flag-offs the governor embarked on, he had said that those were just part of the 18 economically viable roads earmarked by the administration in the first instance, to open up the states to active economic activities and all of that. Then we saw him open up the Okobedi Uyaro link road all up to East West Road. That's about 13.5 kilometers. There was another 13.5 kilometer emptying into the Ibom Deep Seaport access. Then with a spur in Afiuda.
Afiuda, yes.
Yeah,
Coastal Energy. To the deep seaport.
And then he moved from there to Usakana. And this is putting this in perspective. The Okobedi East West Road project, I'm told, had been the earnest agitation of all people for all of close to 20 years.
Yeah,
and then we now have a governor who's coming to do that. For as long as Akwa Ibom people have thought of the Ibom Deep Seaport, there was yet a government to consider a land access down to the seaport. And then this is a governor that has flagged off that project. When we got to Sakana, when we went for the Saka flag off, people from that community said, the village head of that community said that was the first time.
And blessed that we have a governor who is not a politician. We have a governor who is a leader. Leaders are interested in the next generation. Politicians are interested in the next elections. That's why the government caught in the midst of the rhetoric by Olabalo. He speaks to the sensitivity of the people because he had lived those paths. Yeah. He's a clergy. He's a businessman. He's a chef. You get it? Now, these are people who are very meticulous with issues. They don't just pass through them. And again, he's also a student. For those who don't know, he's a PhD student right now. So when you talked about him having the face of a student, he understands because he's a practical student. You talk about being a boy, he has been on the ground. He knows what it means to be on the ground. So he's a man that has the humility to turn around things. And like we said earlier, what is happening to him right now is not a new thing. Having gone through all this aspect of life, he's not afraid to go to those things that are sensitive to the people. For instance, the issue of gratuity has always been an old trouble. When people are complaining, people were complaining over time and over time. It became so sensitive. But this was an issue that he didn't shy away from, because as far as he was concerned, this was an issue that had plagued Akwa Ibomite, and it must be discussed, it must be talked about. And he gave his word. He said once he becomes a governor, they are going to work assiduously with the budget office and carve out monies and pay in tranches that he cannot pay all at once, but he's going to make sure that he pays them in tranches.
And in 9 months has paid 14.7 billion naira.
That is it. True to his word, that is what is being done regularly. The pensions are not even old. Salaries are things of the past. People don't worry. Civil servants don't worry about that. That is the humanitarian phase. He's thinking about the people, because if you don't have the purchasing power, you are not going to do anything. And one of the things he did, he changed some of those mantras. There was one mantra where you always chant, build the youths. The governor said, no, we have been building the youths forever. Now we want to roof the youths. And that's why I found out that there are programs that he has lined up that have been, the Aki Cares is there, the Ibom led, where you train these people, entrepreneurs, and then you turn them around and you still give them startup. You know, imagine a tailor that has gone through the training, the leadership training of Ibom led, and then given a startup of about 500,000 to continue or start up a business. So the governor is intentionally trying to create the middle class, the unexisting middle class, because this is the machinery that runs the economy. So, and you cannot run an economy without people. So infrastructure have its level, it has its reach. Once the people do not have the buying power, the purchasing power, infrastructure becomes monuments. And the government is trying to balance both, and this has to do with its humanitarian aspect of governance. Now, if you go back and you look at all those aspects where people are complaining, we've not seen this for over years, we've not seen this kind of road, we've not seen sensitive issues. The people of our own federal constituency, as it were, you know, it's not just the Okobodi Oyaro road to the east-west road. They've always like, we want it from Airport Junction through Nsrata Okobo Road. Are you getting me? Yeah. And the governor has not relented in talking about it. You see, one thing about issues is that you don't shy away. The governor, one thing that is unique about His Excellency Governor Umoino, it doesn't shy away from issues. It doesn't shy away from issues, because once people begin to talk about this issue, it means that those things bug them. It's something they want, and that's why I found out that in his another humanitarian aspect, he asks communities to say what they want. They want project per federal constituency, for local government. You sit down, stakeholders sit down. What do you want? There was something about the schools. You know, those schools are being replicated. One is ongoing right now in Okobo. The remodeling in Okobo local government. Some of the local government, they said they wanted that schools. Some said they wanted healthcare. You know, so that is him taking democracy back to you and activating the real definition of democracy: government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So he is the people. He is the people. So whatever the people want, that is what he does. Being a clergy, he understands the maxim vox populi vox dei. So he is careful. But the beauty of it is that as a man of uncorruptible character, principle man, he understands what the people need more than what they want. So sometimes you might want this, but he understands that that want is momentarily, so he gives you what you need, and that is what has happened over time. So we are not particularly surprised. Me, actually, I'm not particularly surprised that he's doing what he's doing, because just like the doctor said, he said when we were preaching the gospel, we had already believed. So when the 12 disciples who already believed, because we've seen it.
Okay, so we're not trying to convince ourselves.
We're not trying to convince ourselves. You know, for me, like, I was super excited.
So you're more like telling people.
It's just a reminder. Because the thing is, reputation is what people would see. So even when the campaign of calumny was going on, he would call the people who were supporting and say, hey, don't insult anybody. Just promote the things you about me. Let's talk about the good things about me. Don't. And even all the time, all through the litigation, you always come and say, I have forgiven anybody that might have said something wrong about me. That is the ecclesiastical training that he has in him. The idea of forgiveness, the openness, the olive branch. And that's why it's easier for people to just assimilate the things he's doing. And now with all the campaign of calumny, all the terrible things that was said, yeah, fine, it was politics, it was war, and they say all is fair in war. But now look at what he's doing. It is that his attitude now, with the way he's governing, is completely changing, reorientating the people's psyche about what was said. So it's no longer about what was said, it's about what we are seeing.
Okay, so now much ado about reorienting the mind, changing the mindset, how people see things and how people interact. You see, we've been around long enough to know that politics here has been that of endless mudslinging and dirty water bath. And then someone has come in to say, no, I don't want to be a beneficiary of a system that thrives in mudslinging. Are the politicians having it easy under government, or are they having some difficulties playing the usual games?
The complexities have changed. The dynamism that is involved in the politics of Akwa State now, there is a clear, crystal, pristine shift in paradigm. And you have to look at the body language of the leader, because it is the body language of the leader that informs you on the direction to go. If we now have a leader who is not interested in mudslinging, a leader who is not interested in calumny, in campaign of calumny. He's not interested in mustling. He's not interested in unverified gossip. Definitely, you won't go with that kind of attitude. If you, whether you like it or not, there have been relative peace in Akwa Ibom State, both in all aspects, in the media and on the, even when we have pockets of little disturbances here, he doesn't shy away from it. He goes in and tells you what is what you're supposed to do. Hey, you're supposed to man this place, and if you don't man this place, it means you're failing your duties. So you stand a chance of losing your position.
Wow.
So it's the man that is not shying away from responsibility, and that's the beauty of it.
Okay, so when Inside the Rise Agenda returns, we would have Dr. Enejohn talk to us about how the person, how character traits of Governor Umoino is rubbing off people in government. But until we return, don't go away.
We don't really believe in talking too much, but we believe that actions of this government will speak louder than words, and actions will convince you that we truly came to serve the Akwa Ibom people under God, to ensure that we touch the areas that were hitherto untouched. That's what we are really looking for. And we go into the hinterlands. Today we begin the flag off of 18 strategic roads in Akwa Ibom State. 18. Across the length and breadth of Akwa Ibom State. We are beginning from Oram, and we are going to go up to Ikorekpene. We'll get on, then finally land in Uyo. We like to assure the Akwa Ibom people that we are on course. We are going to fund this road as at when due. We will follow the milestone, and as they construct, we on their IPC will pay. In 24 months, we want to come back here by the grace of God and commission this road.
Welcome back. It is the concluding segment of today's edition of Inside the Rise Agenda. My name is Samuel Ayara, and I have in the studios Enejohn PhD and Patrick Edeke. We've been looking at a Rise Agenda in perspectives. Before we went on that break, we've looked at the different angles and aspects to leadership as enunciated and practiced by Akwa Ibom State's 5th democratically elected governor, Pastor Umar Basieno. And as I had already said before we went on that break, okay, remember, if you need to step away, this session has been streaming on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, it is streaming on the page Inside the Rise Agenda, and on YouTube you can find and follow this conversation at AKBC Radio and TV. Then back to Dr. Enejohn. Is the person, how well has the governor been able to replicate his person, his mindset in the character and deliveries of people he is working with? You know, it's one thing to have a good man at the top. It's an entirely different pot of kettle of tea to have people below him actually work committedly at delivering on his vision.
Well, Ayara, you know, right now we are experiencing a mental shift in governance, because when you have a boss, your duty is to tailor your ideas and your how you go about your event to how your boss is doing his. So for every right-thinking person who is an appointee of the governor or who is in government today, you look at what the head of the government is doing. The governor sits at the top of this administration, and you see him go to the street. You see this human face in his administration. You see him get down to people, to relate with people directly. He doesn't need a third party for him to relate with you. So as an appointee, as a local government chairman or transition chairman, whatever position you hold in government today, even if you are a civil servant, you look at what is the governor doing? What are the governor's imprint in his life's affair, in his workings?
So you simply ask yourself, when you find yourself in situations, what would the governor have done?
Yes, if this was Pastor Moino, what would he have done in this case? Okay. You see, we are no longer in an era where appointees will be called and they don't respond to their calls. At every point in time, the governor tells you, reach out to me, I will answer you. Anyhow you want to reach out to the governor, reach out either directly, or you have other people who can handle whatever thing you feel the governor can handle. Yeah. So if you can reach out to the SSG, can reach out to an appointee of government, and your message gets to the government, it means you've had access to the governor. So,
and I hope that's not also forgetting to mention your name, because as an appointee of government, people should start reaching out to you.
No, the governor has been very explicit in his directive. Once you are pushing to be appointed, reach out to people. You may not necessarily be able to cater for the needs of everyone, but in your little space, in whatever thing you do, as much as possible, no matter how little it is, if you are appointed PA, also appoint another PA, and let it be a trickling down effect of whatever thing you earn, because the over 384,000 persons who voted for Governor Moino cannot be reached at the same time. But the governor can reach them through the initiation and execution of projects that he is carrying out, through the medical outreach that he is doing. A whole lot of projects going on in the state, spread across different local government areas. So as an appointee, my idea is to look at what the governor is doing and tailor my mindset towards the governor's body language. If this was the governor, what would he have responded to? What would he have done in this instance? So we look at all of these indices, and it serves as a guide to you. So if you have a boss who is simple in nature, you also have to be simple. It's a clear departure from what we used to have in the past, where you can put on your stash. Look at even this machine is not stash. So you look at, it's not a point where you carry stash shirt and you carry big file and be working. Nobody can reach you. No. As much as possible, the governor has demystified governance. So as an aide to the governor, as an appointee of governor, as a civil servant, also in your own closet, demystify governance wherever you find yourself, and let the people be able to reach you.
Interesting. That's a strong line. Demystify what used to make you feel larger than life. And I love it. Okay, so as we begin to wind down a decade, let's look at we grew into the maxim, charity begins at home, and then with Akwa Ibom in our hands, in Akwa Ibom, we have a governor who is rather beginning charity elsewhere. How do you feel every time you realize that the governor is more committed to developing other parts of the state at a time we feel that governors, the rest of his colleagues, are more concerned with developing their own part of the country? It's a lot, it could have been a lot quite forgivable to think that yes, he started his administration with developmental projects in Nsurubium local government area. People would have felt, charity really begins at home, so he's doing the right thing. But now when you see a governor that is not so much interested with beginning this charity at home, he is reaching out to every other part of the state the same way he would reach out to his his own part of the state. How does this make you feel? You heard him talk about the 18 roads. He talked about beginning from Oron, moving to Ikorekpede, and all, and now talked about Oyo Central District. I mean, how does this feel? Is it still the mental shift thing?
Doctor has said something here in one of his last line of remarks. He said, demystifying governance. You see, when Pastor Moino was running for office, he said he's going to demystify governance. A lot of people did not really get a grasp of what it meant to demystify governance. What it actually meant was it's going to bring governance to you at your doorstep. So you see governance, you feel governance, you touch governance. So it's no longer alien to your existence. That is what he has succeeded in doing. Prior to him becoming governor, there was so much vitriol, so much toxicity, political toxicity and polarization in Akwa Ibom State. Those era have been eradicated. Akwa Ibom is becoming a one project Are you getting me?
Yeah.
And he has no home apart from Akwa Ibom. When you say charity begins at home, the only home Pastor Umoino has in his head is Akwa Ibom State. And that's why he can conveniently start executing projects from anywhere in the state.
Okay, so he has reduced the state to a single
It's a
constituency.
single constituency. As far as he is concerned, he has one home, and that home is Akwa Ibom State. And Akwa Ibom State must enjoy the charity you are talking about. So he has this verbosity of thoughts and privileges to start his project
His strides in any part of the state.
And that's why he has been able to spread his tentacles across wide in Akwa Ibom State. Everywhere you go to right now in Akwa Ibom State, you will see the footmarks of Pastor Umoino as the governor of Akwa Ibom State. And that's why he has been very careful about the politics of calumny. He said, one of the times I had the privilege of meeting with him, he said, look, listen, I am a clergy. I'm going to be here mostly, at most, 8 years. I'm going to go back to the church. So whatever I do here must not defile me to the point that I can't go back to the church. So whatever I do here must edify me the more, so that it will take me on a white horse back to the church. And that's why I say that sometimes people are wondering, where is he getting all this strength to do all these things? Where is all the resources coming from? It is somebody that has committed himself to the Akwa Ibom project, and that is his home. He said he has no other address. He has only one address, and that's Akwa Ibom. So when you say charity begins at home, charity is actually beginning at home.
Interesting. Charity is actually beginning at home. Whether it happens in Ombo, whether it happens in Oborokara or Eastern Obolo, that is home for Pastor Umoino.
That's correct.
Little wonder why he did not tout himself an Akwa Ibom boy, because he didn't need to emphasize that in any way. He's been one who's lived here, stayed here, and done so much here. Okay, so we 1 hour. Pastor Umoino and the Rice Agenda isn't a conversation for an hour. Yeah, we can barely use the hour, just an hour on this conversation. Then just before we go, we would just switch immediately to Inside the Rice Agenda update, where we would love to tell you that in keeping with his campaign promise to regularly pay down gratuities and other entitlements, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umoino has authorized the release of additional 2.7 billion naira for the payment of gratuities to retired workers and leave grants for primary school teachers. A breakdown of the payment is as follows: 725 million naira for 2023 leave grants of primary school teachers, 500 million naira for payment of gratuity for primary school teachers, 500 million naira for payment of gratuities to local government staff, and then 975 million naira for the payment of gratuities for retired state civil servants. With this release, the Governor Umoino, since coming into office on May 29, 2023, has so far paid a total of 14.7 billion naira in gratuities and leave grants. And then still on Inside the Rice Agenda update, this is to tell you that the Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Umoino has outlined modalities for the implementation of the state government's food subsidy initiative, saying that the state will ensure that the efforts at ameliorating the harsh economic realities are not thwarted by middlemen. He explained that the social register will serve as a document for the implementation of the bulk purchase intervention, assuring everyone that activities of middlemen will be checked to enable the poorest of the poor, who, according to him, are prime targets of the initiative, benefit maximally from the program. There's just so much around the Rice Agenda, and I hope that you find time to nose round wherever you can find news about the Rice Agenda. You will always trust it to be good news. Okay, so gentlemen, on that note, we draw the curtains on Inside the Rice Agenda today, but not without having Edeke and Enejon give us their parting shots.
Doctor, you go first.
Okay, it's been a pleasure to be here, and it's been a pleasure to talk to Akwa Ibom people. And I want to let them know that Pastor Umoino will continue to mean well for the state, and he will also mean well. He will continue to mean well for every facet of Akwa Ibom State. Whether you are from Akwa Ibom or you are resident here, the governor means well, and in the next months to come, we'll be experiencing a whole lot of projects that are going to be executed, a whole lot of outreaches that are going to happen after Ecotech medical outreach. We'll be moving to Eket. Open up your minds and accept and also receive the Arise agenda. Do not accept the Arise agenda in partial.
Right.
Receive the Arise agenda in full, because it has come to stay.
Wow.
And this is a defining moment for us as a state. This is a defining moment for us, that we are having a governor who means well for Akwa Ibom people, who is very intentional about implementing projects and implementing his blueprint to the letter. Thank you very much.
Okay, Deke.
It's a golden era, and don't be left out. And the golden era has a golden mantra, and the golden mantra is the Arise agenda. So live it, embody it, digest it, and you find out that wherever you can fit in, because there is room for virtually everybody in Akwa Ibom. The Arise agenda is all encompassing. Just look for the place where you fit in and expand.
Okay, it's the golden era. Don't be left out. So when we draw the curtains on today's edition of the show, we're not shutting you out. We're simply telling you, go think of what aspect of the Arise agenda you want to function in. Remember, the show Inside the Arise Agenda is sponsored by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Mr. Ekeretu Udo. We thank him a whole lot for the support and encouragement. And then that's not also forgetting to let you know that Inside the Arise Agenda airs on other broadcast houses. On Tuesdays, we are on Tuesdays 10 to 11 a.m. we are on Premium 89.9 FM, and 4 to 5 p.m. on Tuesdays we are on AKBC 90.5 FM. On Thursdays, just like today, 5 to 6 p.m. we are on AKBC TV, and on Fridays are what we dub our Happy Hour edition. 5 to 6 p.m. we are on Mix 88.7 FM, where we try to tell you how much the Arise agenda has come to change our lives. On behalf of the rest of the crew, we have on the back room, we have Felix, we have JT and Sammy. Quite a number of people and hands who committed to ensuring this broadcast came out well. My name is Samuel. I am, until when next we return here or on any other of our channels, I trust you continue to have yourself the very best of time and continue to deepen your support for the Arise agenda. Bye-bye.